In today's video, I'm going to be putting this 100mm budget lens through its paces. I'll be using the Yongnuo YN100 to shoot some things you'd expect and some things that you might not when it comes to using a 100mm prime lens. This video should also serve as a good comparison to the 85mm budget lens from Yongnuo, which you can find a link to in the description below. So in order to put the lens through its paces, what I've decided to do is try it in 5 different styles of photography. We're going to do low light photography, portrait photography, action photography, street photography, and landscape photography, which, as you might have noticed, that is what we're doing here today. We're going to start out with landscape photography, and at the end of the video, or throughout the video, I'm going to commentate on the pros and the cons of where I think this lens shines and where it might let itself down a little bit, to hopefully by the end of the video come up with a conclusion as to whether this budget lens is something I'm happy I bought, or maybe it's not so much. So let's get to it. Okay, so today I'm doing something a little bit different, and I say that for two reasons. One being that I'm shooting some street photography, which is not my normal forte by any means, but two, I'm using a mirrorless camera, the camera that I normally use to shoot these videos on, the Canon R50 with the YN100, and I'm doing that for a few reasons, but the main reason being that I want to see how this setup here today works, because I'm using a newer camera cage and the K&F Concepts lens mount, so that I can use the old EF lenses on the new EOS R bodies on the R50. So it's going to be interesting. And as I say, I normally use this camera for the video aspect of things, but today we're going to try it for some street photography. Now, it's going to pose a few challenges because it's obviously a crop sensitive body and we're using a 100mm lens. So apply the 1.6 crop factor to a 100mm lens, and if my math serves it correctly, that is a 160mm equivalent on full frame. So it's not the usual lens that you would associate with street photography, but nevertheless, we're going to give it a go. And another reason that I wanted to do this was because I wanted some variation in the images. I didn't want all of the images in this video to be coming from the Canon 7D Mark II. So we're going to see how this looks today, and the sun's out, so I'm going to quit me waffling and we're just going to get around Durham City and do some street photography, or my version of street photography. So I hope you enjoy. So something I'm noticing straight away about this setup is that, I don't know whether it's because I'm quite cumbersome, but when I'm shooting, I'm pushing some of the buttons with the back of my palm on the camera. So as you can see there, the info button, and some of the set button and stuff like that, and even the high-speed frames instead of single shot. I've ended up taking like multiple shots because I've pressed it by accident. I just thought I'd quickly dive in and note that. But overall, it does make this camera, the R50, more comfortable to shoot with, because it's such a small camera. I physically couldn't use it to do photography with had I not used this newer camera cage. But yeah, I do prefer this camera for just video purposes. Am I struggling around here with the 100mm lens? Well, a little bit. It's different, so different. Trying to get in on some tight shots. I'm trying to find some shadows, as you can see here. It's midday now, so we've got some harsh shadows, harsh sunlight, and I'm trying to find those type of shots where people are walking in and out of the shadows, up steps, stuff like that, capture a bit of light on the face. We'll see what we can get, but yeah, it's street photography is fairly difficult in my opinion.
Are you alright?
So this is a style of photography that you wouldn't normally associate with a 100mm prime lens, which is what we're using here today, the YN100. As you can see, I'm here at a motocross track which is full of action, fast action. And the lenses that I normally use for this type of stuff are the 70 to 200 lenses. Now I've got two of these. I've got a Pentax 70 to 210, so it's 10mm more, f4, and I've got a Canon 70 to 200 f4. And I've done a video comparing both of those lenses actually here at this track, and I'll link that video in the description if you want to check that out to see what I normally shoot with those lenses and this style of photography. But in saying that, I do think that sometimes rules are meant to be broken. So that's exactly what we're going to try and do here today. We're going to try and see what we can get with this 100mm prime lens shooting action, and hopefully we come away with some interesting and half decent images. So let's get to it. Something that I noticed pretty much straight away when shooting action with this lens is that it was constantly hunting for focus, and even after obtaining it, it would then break free and start to hunt again. And sadly, this is the reason why there's many of these photos which are out of focus. So that's the action shots done, and hopefully we got some decent shots, and I won't know until you guys know. We're both going to see the shots at the same time. But I was thinking, now that I'm here at the track, it makes sense to double up and get some portraits of the riders. You know, this is what this lens was made for. A 100mm prime lens is a go-to lens for a lot of people for portrait photography. So I'm going to see what it's like to get some of the shots of the riders, maybe some of the families and stuff. I'll just see what I can get, and hopefully they come out all right. But first, you know, I think I've earned a coffee, so I'm going to drink this and then we're going to get to it. So I just wanted to quickly jump in here and say that while I've been editing the footage for this video, it's reminded me of how fun this lens was to use throughout these different scenarios, and especially in the ones that it wasn't meant for, it wasn't designed for. And, you know, it's got me thinking, should I be doing this type of stuff more often? Using a lens for a purpose that it wasn't really made for. And on top of that, I also wanted to know if you guys have actually experienced anything similar to this. Have you used a lens that it wasn't designed for, the purpose, you know, the style of photography? And what were the results like? Were you surprised by some of the results? Now, if you have had that scenario pan out, I'd like you to leave a comment in the comment section, and I want to read through which lens you used and for what. What did you use it for that it wasn't really meant for?
Want one with money? Should I get one with money? Sitting on. Trying to get the... a shot of you all together? Do you want a shot of you all together? I'll put you here. I'll get that bit in the background. Right, mate, now. Right? I might have actually.
Okay, so this is the final test. This is the low light test, and what I've chosen to do is some light painting. Now you might be thinking, what a bizarre location to do this in. It's in my garage. But there's a few reasons for that. The main one being, I did have another idea where I was going to be trying to take some self-portraits out in the darkness under street lights, but I've had the flu for like the past week. I'm absolutely run down. I stupidly just tried to have a run there, and you know, I'm not even going to talk about that. But this is the setup. We've got the Canon 7D Mark II with the YN100 lens on this horrible little tripod, may I add, but it gets the job done. And we're going to be using this video light, the Visi G2. Now, I normally use these in my office for the background lights. They're very multi-purpose, I would say. And we're going to be taking images of the Pentax 17 film camera is the star of the show. So without any further ado, let's get to this and see what we can come up with. This is the low light test, light painting. So there you have it, I put the Yongnuo YN100 through its paces. Now this lens, it does have its pros and cons, and the pros being that it's cheap, obviously. The image quality is good, it's not the best, but you know, for the price that you're paying, it is fairly good. And it also adds a variety and a different look to the images that you usually get, at least for me anyway. As far as the cons, I think that the build quality is a little bit lacking, but again, what can you really expect at this price point? Purple fringing is also a con with this lens, and especially since it doesn't come with a lens hood. Weather sealing is another con. I mean, again, at this price point, you can't really expect these lenses to be weather sealed. And the final con for me was that the autofocus of this lens was fairly unreliable. I found myself having to use manual focus quite a lot. So is the YN100 the best budget 100mm lens out there? Well, I'm not sure. But what I am sure of is at the price that I paid for this lens, I'm happy with it. I'm happy using it, and I will be keeping this lens for a while longer. But I feel something more important than that is the amount of fun that I had using this lens, and I know for that myself personally, that is one of the main reasons that I got into photography. So on that note, I'm signing off. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.